The UK is willing to provide Ukraine with lethal weapons, says President's aide. So the UK is entering into this new deal with Ukraine where they are providing them with massive amounts of naval equipment and weaponry. And this comes right after Ukraine is saying that they want to ramp up their defenses in the Black Sea. They have the reasons to do so, but they're certainly not the only nation to do so. Welcome to my channel, my name is Soran and I'm here with your daily international relations video. Today we're going to take a look at the Black Sea and all of the conflicts that are popping up recently in that area. The Black Sea has long been a center for conflicts, especially between nations like Turkey, Russia, the US and other organizations like the EU, but recently those tensions and conflicts has been taken to a whole new level. The conflict in Crimea in the northeast part of the sea was never settled after Russia in 2014 moved in to overtake the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. For Russia, that whole landmass of Crimea is very important as it gives them an all-year-round trading port leading out to the Black Sea and further out into the Mediterranean Sea as well. But just as much as Russia gained, Ukraine lost by having the whole area of Crimea contested. So just today, the foreign minister of Ukraine came out and said that he is initiating a £1 billion loan with the UK to provide them with a massive amount of naval equipment and weaponry. And according to this article that was just released today, the Ukraine is getting everything they want out of this deal with the UK to ramp up their military defense in the Black Sea. Before we get into the article, I just want to say that obviously there are a lot of powers trying to gain control of the Black Sea, and they're all doing it at the same time. Even today, 6 years after Crimea became contested, the Ukraine is still fighting off Russian-backed rebels in that whole area. And within the greater Black Sea, both the US and NATO have had very near close encounters with the Russian Air Force in the last month, the last week, and even in the last few days. As an example, take a look at this. This video is recorded from inside a B-52 NATO bomber doing a parade. They were doing a flyover of all of the NATO nations and was intercepted over the Black Sea by 2 Russian Su-27 fighter jets. And that's just one situation where if it's handled wrong, it could really quickly escalate. To add to all of this, Turkey is having its own plans of expansion within the area, so it also has a military presence both on the nation's borders into the Black Sea, but also within the Black Sea itself. So you can kind of see why this is really a mess right now. Alright, so let's take a look at what this article has to say about this new UK-Ukraine deal. The UK is willing to provide a large lethal weapons contract to Ukraine and a £1 billion loan to help Ukraine's navy build new ships capable of use in the Black Sea, according to a senior aide to the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Andrei Yermak, the head of office to Zelensky, also warned that the suppression of post-election unrest in neighboring Belarus posed a potential direct threat to Ukraine and said his country was seeking assurances from the European Union and the UK about helping to safeguard its security. An EU and NATO center to combat Russian disinformation and counter propaganda based in Ukraine was also being proposed, Yermak revealed during remarks at Chatham House think tank. Alright, so Yermak is basically saying that Ukraine is finding itself in a bit of a hot mess right now, and that's the reason why they're seeking this massive new deal with the UK. To the north of Ukraine, they have Belarus, which is in this weird election state where there are massive riots in the streets and civil unrests everywhere. And he's afraid that it will overflow into the nation of Ukraine. At the same time, they're fighting off these Russian-backed rebels in this very hotly contested territory of the Crimea. And to top it all off, they have allegedly these Russian propaganda machines and agents within the nation of Ukraine itself. So there's a lot of things going on with the nation of Ukraine right now. Let's see what it says here. Ukraine has been fighting Russian-backed rebels in the east of the country since 2014 in a war that has killed 13,000 people. Its government has been seeking heavy weaponry from the US and the European Union for years, but has usually been met with ambivalence inside Europe because of fears that the move would exacerbate the conflicts. So I'm bringing the case of Ukraine up because Ukraine is not typically this nation that's looking to expand its borders and take over more territory like Russia and Turkey. It's basically a nation that's pretty peaceful, but it's being forced, because of all of the conflicts within the Black Sea, it's being forced to ramp up its military presence. And as soon as it will, and we have another huge military naval presence within the Black Sea, I think people fear that eventually the more nations you ram into one sea that's kind of closed off to the rest of the world, the more nations you ram in, the more likely it is that sooner or later someone will do something stupid and there will be a conflict. Turkey is also causing a lot of problems right now because they're watching these smaller nations ramp up their military presence within the Black Sea, and now they feel like they should be doing the same. The problem is that they've been doing the same even before the smaller nations began doing this, right? They're already engaged in smaller conflicts all around that area, especially in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, where they're now engaged in a conflict with Greece about drilling rights, about these massive new gas pockets that they found in that sea. But now in the Black Sea, they've been buying these huge Russian defense systems. So because we're watching this ramping up of military units within the Black Sea, NATO has tried to step in and calm things down and talk to the more aggressive nations such as Turkey. So NATO sent their chief, Jens Stoltenberg, to Ankara, the capital of Turkey, to talk with the Turkish politicians to calm things down. Remember that Turkey is part of NATO, but now they're dealing with weapons with Russia at the same time, and typically that's considered a big fat no-no. So Stoltenberg is trying to talk with them in the capital of Turkey to calm things down. But as you might have guessed, that didn't really go that didn't really go that well. So take a look at this. Turkey tests the controversial S-400 defense system next week. What then? So the controversy here lies within the fact that these defense systems are from Russia, and since NATO has its own beef with Russia, you're not supposed to deal with them, especially for military. This is what it says in the article. Turkey's decision to test the S-400 missile system immediately after NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg visit was, of course, very displeasing to its NATO allies. Turkey expert Matthew Goldman from the Swedish Research Institute in Istanbul told Arab News. Stoltenberg was in Turkey to try to calm Turkish-Greek tensions, but also to urge Turkey to refrain from activating the S-400 system, warning that this could trigger American sanctions on Turkey. Proceeding with a test of the system today, when Stoltenberg was in Athens, sent a strong signal that Turkey is doubling down and in no mood to succumb to pressure from its NATO allies. According to a Bloomberg report, Turkey plans to test the S-400 next week at a Black Sea coast. While the move does not mean that Turkey is immediately activating the Russian system, reports in Ankara suggest that the activation card may be used as leverage. Look, the conflicts in the Black Sea are obviously very complicated. with that many nations involved, but we're seeing these smaller nations ramp up their defenses. And at the same time, we have all of these near confrontations between nations that should know better, like the US and Russia. I don't know if I mentioned, but the US has its very own naval warship within the Black Sea as well. And they've recently, as you saw with the B-52 bombers and the Russian Su-27 aircrafts, they've had the same kind of equivalent confrontations with the naval ships as well. So it is slightly worrying to see that many nations jam in that many military units, because you kind of feel like, obviously no one wants to go to war, and I don't want to be a fearmonger, but you do have the sense that it's just a matter of time, that it's basically a ticking time bomb. To be fair, I do understand why nations like Turkey and Russia are not too happy with a US naval presence within their own backyard. I don't think the US would be too happy if one day a military fleet from Russia showed up at Hawaii and they just kind of hung around. I don't think they would like it too much. In the end, there's a lot of boasting and near confrontations and chest beating, but I don't think that anyone wants a conflict. And I think the hope remains that since it's so close to all of these nations, that's not going to be a conflict. Like, no one's going to want to fight a war that close to your own country, right? If you want to make sure that there's no war in that region, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel. Then I'll personally make sure that at least for the next 2 days, there's no war in the region. But only if you enjoyed the video. Also, the next video is up tomorrow, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great weekend and take care, guys. God bless.